And the SA Police Service says 2,500 trainees have resumed their programs at its training academy in Pretoria. They were evacuated yesterday after a gas pipe explosion at a building near the training facility. SAP's spokesperson, Athlenda Mati.
Training has resumed and SAPS trainees are back in class. The SAPS appreciates the prompt response by the Tshwane Fire Department and Emergency Services Unit in extinguishing the fire from an adjacent building near the Tshwane Training Academy yesterday. All staff and personnel that are working at the academy are also back at work.
The top story this hour, Acting President Paul Mashatile has signed the second Presidential Health Compact at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. For SAFM News, Ke Mudupima Khalemele. Up next, The Full Circle.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Dzonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Get affordable car insurance and do more with the money that you could save every month. 69-year-old Vivian can afford to treat herself more now that she pays an awesome car insurance premium of only 749 Rand per month to insure her grey 2024 Suzuki Jimmy 85-door. Do you want more? SMS out to 30754 to get a quote. That's out to 30754 now. Our insurance is a licensed FSP and T's and C's do apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I wake up, I see you as you leave. I feel it, I see it as you leave. When we kiss, I went deep, but you're far away. You used to be my everything, treated me like I was a queen. What spell did it cast on me? Or said I make believe? You say, girl, never be afraid of ever loving me. Those words I hung on to. Oh God, I was a fool. You became my bad habit, keeping up appearances so you could notice. Even when you suddenly pick the things and left the keys, that's crazy. Be fine, yeah, even sure, feel me silly. Be fine, yeah, but you're wrong, feel me silly. Be fine, sure. Notice I'm for go show, go show.
Listen, if you're watching us live streaming right now and you're wondering, why is my body expressions going off in between Asa's Bibanke? It wasn't the music. The music is fantastic. It's great. We love Asa. Anytime we play Asha on the show, we have a great time. But it's because of everything that's going on our live television networks. Every single 24-hour television network right now is carrying that live briefing by the leaders of the MKP. And of course, as you see on the straps, the former deputy president of the EFF, Floyd Shivambu, announced as the MK's national organizer. I don't know what that means in the context of the MKP. I'm not quite familiar with how they are structured. It could be the essence of what we know national organizers to be within political organizations, or it could just be a title, but his responsibilities may be weighing even more, considering that the fact that he also makes up, from what I sort of gleamed, we were getting ready to go live, so I didn't catch the beginning, but from what I gleamed, it seems as though he makes up the 10 body, their version of what would be the national committee. So he makes up the 10-member body of that deciding committee for the MKP. So obviously there's a little bit more weight to his new title of being national organizer, a little bit more weight than what we know it to be traditionally from previous political structures, and that is being carried live now on SABC News as well as other 24-hour news networks. But if you prefer to stay with us during the next 2 hours, we've got a jam-packed show for you this afternoon. We're going to be having all kinds of conversations. We're looking at the urgent call that is needed to protect our youth, and we're going to be plugging in to a conversation with Love Life on this, as well as having a conversation around the 12th edition of the Africa Aerospace and Defense Trade Exhibition. We're going to have that one. Stages, pages, screens, and more is also coming up today. We thought we'd have a yesterday, Sir Zanele Muholi, but they were busy, and so today we're going to have that conversation with them. Zanele Muholi, who is an internationally renowned South African photographer, as well as a gender activist, LGBTQI activist. She launched a new coffee table book just last night called Hail the Dark Lioness Volume 2. And so we'll catch up with Zanele around that. On the other side of 2, here's a question for you. As an employee, can you challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue? We've seen so many companies in South Africa having to close operations, just the current economic climate forcing a lot of companies and organizations to close shop or to scale down drastically. And so a lot of people finding themselves in the unemployment line as the companies go into business rescue, foreclosure, and all kinds of other things. And as an employee, perhaps you find yourself in this predicament, are you able to challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue? If you happen to be in a similar circumstance or have a family member in a similar circumstance and maybe want to jump ahead with your questions and your point of inquiry for our expert around this, you are more than welcome to do so. My producers are standing by on WhatsApp to receive your voice notes. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN OTP feature and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
Feel Good Fridays just got even better with a brand new Espresso newsletter, The Feel Good Fix. Delivered to your inbox every Friday, it is your weekly dose of joy, entertainment, and local flair. Subscribe now at expressoshow.com and never miss a moment.
From heartwarming stories to tasty recipes, it's all there waiting for you. And remember to tune in to the Espresso Morning Show weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on S3, and let's start your day right and channel your inner feel good.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
Very interesting developments. You know, this is the one time where I kind of wish that we could split the show into two. On the one hand, have our ears listening to the live press conference that is happening, and on the other hand, also plugging into the show. But we'll catch up with that later on during the course of the day. Tilivali Libadi joins me now, who is Love Live's Gauteng Provincial Programs and Operations Manager. South Africa is facing a dual crisis at the moment that demands our immediate attention. We're seeing the alarming levels of violence in schools, as well as the staggering high youth unemployment rate. And you go on in sort of your assessment as Love Life to say that recent incidents have cast a harsh spotlight on the vulnerabilities of children within the education system. Good afternoon to you, Tilivali. How are you doing?
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to our viewers. We are doing very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's talk about this, the dual crises that demands our immediate attention. We are seeing so many alarming levels of violence within our school, and that surely speaks to certain factors that are now taking root, or that we are seeing the symptoms thereof play out within the youth spaces and within youth communities.
Yeah, precisely. we are seeing these incidences, and we see that they are symptoms of what exactly is happening in the society, what is exactly happening in families, that is now manifesting in our school environment. Because when you look deeper into the safety of school environment, it is replicating how the society is structured. Because these people that are at school don't stay at schools. They are from communities, they are from families. So the school environment is now beginning to be identified as a sports field where it's now exposing social ills that we normally would see in communities at sports ground and in families, but now it's now reminiscing in itself in a school environment, which is a concern, to us as Love Life, which is a concerning matter to the public as well, that we need to converge as NGOs, as community structures, and try to have a discussion around this matter.
In fact, you point out to the stats as released by Stats SA that revealed a youth unemployment rate that's now hovering at around 63%. And when we sort of connect the synergy between all these social ills, including unemployment, the question becomes the impact of the educational needs and the safety of our young people in school, and how that also ties in to the economic instability in the country, particularly around this generation or this cohort.
Yes, when the economic situation is at this point or at this level and impacting on the school environment, we will begin to see young people dropping out of school because, one, it's not safe for them, it's not encouraging for them. Two, you just said statement before I came in about the number of companies closing down and the rate of unemployment, which then now parents would find it difficult to pay school fees. Where they're paying school fees, where they have to be buying school uniform, is going to be difficult. Those that, don't pay but would have to support their children with just a pocket money wouldn't be able to do that. So this exacerbates young people dropping out. This affects young people's mental health, that they don't see a future ahead of them. Then the school itself, the issues of infrastructure, the budget from the department would have to be depreciated in covering other aspects that were not, planned for, because of the violence that is happening in school and also because of the economic situation. So the young person here becomes the victim, vulnerable to all these things, and how do they get motivated to be able to go to school? And hence the staggering number of unemployment, as particularly young people, it's increasing. And when we are speaking like this, we don't know the next steps, what is this going to say.
Let's also, let's look at the alarming rates of violence in schools and the kind of measures, perhaps, that a Love Life would say need to be considered or need to be implemented in order to, at very least, safeguard that environment and to safeguard youth within those spaces.
We are of the belief that we used to have a direct access to schools as Love Life since inception until around 2018, and we have realized that our absence from schools, implementing our programs in school, is playing a major role in exposing young people into these social ills. But now we are concluding our discussion with the Department of Basic Education that we would see ourselves going back to the school platform, where we will then be able to complement the department's programs in terms of safety, in terms of social ills like teenage pregnancy, bullying, and also gangsterism in school. So we are coiling down a concept note that would be implemented in school, but we also currently using the vehicle of school health promoters from the Department of Health, that we go together with them to implement some programs that we call them integrated school health policy, that we are leveraging on that one. So there is much that we are doing, but we think that a more focus and dialogues around this matter should be implemented in partnership with school governing bodies, that I think they must be able to observe that their role in terms of governance in school should also expand into looking at other partnerships, because we're in the era of collaboration now, that we need to directly collaborate with school governing bodies so that we then implement this program for the sake of this child that belongs to all of us.
And when we look at the sort of career readiness, I'm pretty sure you've also considered and have plans within your integrated school health policy and other policies initiatives. You obviously have plans and an approach as to how to bridge that gap of career readiness from high school to getting out there into the tertiary and, of course, into adulthood.
Actually, we do it well as Love Life, that aspect, because we then leverage on our peer-to-peer model, because we know it is easier when young people are listening to other young people who we have trained as Love Life, as our implementers, to be able to then lead them in terms of how do you prepare your resume, how do you prepare your interview, what does it look like, the working world after you matriculated. And above that, we include this in our dialogues that we call them bone-free dialogues. But apart from that, we are running a very beautiful program in the Northern Cape, where we also offer driver's license for free to young people that we would identify in that province, and also those young people who comes with issues like substance abuse, we then refer them to rehabilitation. I'm glad to say some of them are completing their diplomas and degree that will be able to mentor them through our program of preparing these young people to exit well. And also in Gauteng, we also have a partnership with NYDA, where we do the work readiness program with them. And those who are out of school, we are also trying to do, entrepreneurial skills development with NYDA. So we have a number of programs that we're saying we can't wait for the government, but we are available as Love Life to be able to partner and assist our young people to be ready and to be able to go and meet the unemployment head on.
Let's also talk, Livali, let's talk about the challenges perhaps that you might face in implementing some of Love Life's programs, whether across Gauteng or, of course, across other provinces that maybe are a little bit less resourced, that present very unique challenges for the work that you do and the interventions that you'd like to set in place.
Yes, I'm sure you might have seen sometimes when you're driving around townships and villages that you could find a group of young people converging next to a clinic or next to a municipal building. It tells you that the young people also need data coverage, accessibility to internet, which is a challenge that we have observed, particularly in our rural areas, where we think the local government should take this matter head on to see how do they, complement young people in terms of data usage, where young people will then be able to have free access into the internet space. That's one of the challenges that we are having as Love Life. And also, a partnership where we would get, resources that we have an experience. We are good with young people, but you will find sometimes we don't have enough funds to be able to mitigate our programs where we need to implement them.
And I mean, without the funds, it becomes difficult because a lot of the work requires monetary backing.
Precisely, we can stand there and become like an organization that just exists in papers, but if we can't get support in terms of resources, nothing much would be done in terms of impacting on the number of unemployment in South Africa. But we want to exhibit ourselves, to say we have this experience, we have been doing this, and we need partnership that would then bring a positive impact in terms of social ills and actually social compact that the government is talking about today.
All right. Let's take a quick pause here for the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation as we look at the really impactful work and interventions that Love Life is putting in place and hoping to expand as well across different regions in order to create safe learning environments and bridging the gap to employment for so many vulnerable South African youth out there, vulnerable as well as unemployed South African youth.
A very good afternoon with the news headlines. Acting President Paul Mashatile has signed the second Presidential Health Compact at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Floyd Shivambu is now the national organizer of the MK Party, and Cabinet has welcomed the arrest of the suspected leader behind a kidnapping syndicate targeting business people for ransom in the country. I'll be back with a full news update at 2.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
And as I think that I'm going to proceed with you, Talivali, they whisper in my ear that actually I have to wrap it because there's another item on the agenda. But before we wrap it, maybe let's also just touch on your collaboration with other stakeholders. And you mentioned the likes of NYDA, for instance, as well as local regional government entities. How important is that? And does that speak to a 180 degrees solution to a problem that is so multi-layered?
Precisely, because when we as Love Life are focusing on our own program implementation, you would find that our resources is limited. But when we then start talking to NYDA, then we leverage on the resources they have. They leverage on the accessibility to young people that we have, and that closes a gap. And that doesn't become enough, because you might find there is an organization like Safer South Africa Foundation that has to come with the element of safety in schools. We then need to collaborate to be able to reach that 180 degree. And you might find we have a very local organization that is not experienced as Love Life, that is not having muscle as NYDA, but we need to collaborate with them, because they have another view that Love Life would not have, that NYDA will not have. But collaborative theme is the nature of a current discussion, that we need to collaborate so that we are able to demonstrate the success rate inclusively, that we are able to cover all aspects of young people holistically.
And of course, just final, all these interventions are incredible and an incredible place to start. But without community buy-in, without community and family and social buy-in, will we be able to see the end of the sort of violence in our schools? Will we be able to see the end of these high youth unemployment numbers?
Our messaging all the time when we meet with community stakeholders is to go on the ground with community to say, this program is yours, this infrastructure is yours. We can't manage it without the involvement of the community, because if they don't have the buy-in, then there's nothing that we're going to do. We just have good programs that would not have any deliverables at all. So community buy-in and family structures to support our initiative is very crucial, and that is one of our strengths as Love Life, that we don't implement without these background consultations.
Lovely. Tilivali Livari, thank you so much for the time. Tilivali is Love Life's Gauteng Provincial Programs and Operations Manager. Let's take a quick pause, and then we come back. We catch up with Nakedi Pasha, who is the AAD Exhibition Director.
Here he comes. Hello, guys. You're so dramatic. Hey, bro, it's not me. It's the extra styling kit. The leather seats with the red finish. It's the tow bar, all coming standard with my red Isuzu badge. Wow, now that is extra.
Why be standard when you can get the all-new Isuzu D-Max X Rider from just 8,742 Rand. Prime less 3.5%, 0% deposit, 40% balloon, and 72 months to pay. Get yours today. Finance is subject to approval. Isuzu Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Borussia Dortmund understands the delight that comes with triumphing the opening clash of the league race. But Eintracht Frankfurt are not about dropping points this early. They want to complete their visit to Signal Iduna Park with 3 incredible points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the hot contest between Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt on Saturday, 24 August at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. #We love it here. I'll be brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get ready for a magical night filled with hope and positivity at the Night of Hope event, 25th August, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. live. Join Lotus FM Pastor Niven Lalman for a special 2-hour broadcast of the Gospel Hour live at one of Durban's most prestigious venues, the Durban Christian Center Dome. This will be a historic reach, calling the greater Durban community to come together for a night of prayer and embrace, together with SABC to present live from the venue to a greater South African audience. Tickets are free. Secure your spot by booking online through Cricket today. Don't miss out on this unforgettable, historic night for South Africa. See you there.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Let's take it one step at a time. You've probably used the word illegal 5 times. I mean, how do you know they're illegal in terms of illegal nationals as opposed to doing illegal work?
Well, I can tell you, Ashraf, I wasn't born yesterday. I know the laws of this country. No one can operate businesses after from one house. It's a normal residential house. The following day, it's turned into a commercial enterprise with building in a place where used to be one house. All of a sudden, it's 20 rooms. There's no way that can be legal. I don't need any legal person to tell me that it's an illegal activity.
Herman Mashaba, the leader of Action SA.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Stages, pages, screens, and more on the Full Circle.
Probably one of the most formidable voices within the visual arts and the creative disciplines, a South African visual artist and photographer, as well as a LGBTQI plus activist, Sir Zanele Muholi, is one of those voices that cannot be denied, and they focused a lot of their lives by way of giving voice to the voiceless and the unseen. How are you doing this afternoon? I haven't seen or spoken to you in so long. I hope you're good. Zanele?
Yebo, ngikhona, ngiright, I'm happy, I'm here, I'm back by full force with a new volume. Yeah.
Listen, you are always right. You're always right. We are glad to have you back in the country because you've been, before we get to the book, you've been very busy for the first half of the year. You had an incredible exhibition at Tate. You've been really just cementing yourself internationally. From your lens, from your perspective, how has the first half been for you by way of just the work that you do and the journeys that it's taken you on?
It's been a great start to the year with a solo show in LA at Southern Guild Gallery, and also a retrospective at Tate Modern Museum in London. Also another solo show that we had in San Francisco at SF MoMA. So I guess that slowly and surely people are willing to listen and they get to learn about, the milestones that we've won as a South African LGBTQIA plus community. And then many people didn't know what was going on. But slowly and surely people are getting the grip and they get to respect who we are and what is going on from this end.
Yeah, I mean, I said in introducing you, Muholi, that, you're one of the most formidable voices in the visual arts space. And it's purely for the work that you do, the work in giving voice to often the voiceless, not because they're incapable of speaking for themselves, but because society has really othered a large part of community. For those who are introduced to you for the first time today, just the importance of you using your gift as a visual practitioner to capture the lives and the essence of a community that is so often othered and pushed to the fringes. It's been a few years now of you sort of partaking in this work. Why is it so deeply rooted in who you are and so important to continue championing this fight?
It's because I'm speaking as an insider in the community and I'm not speaking from far. And it's important that we do not forget ourselves or do not desert ourselves in the midst of harshness and all, and all that is happening in our community. The struggle is real and there's no freedom yet. I could say that there are a lot of people who came before us, then they've done their part. And then there are many also, like other voices that keep on coming out that still need to be heard. So I'm speaking from the visual arts, and there are many people who are speaking as educators who feel like me and many other people. There are many sport persons who need to show up and showcase what they made of in that particular field. I mean, if we speak of like the voices and masses and what needs to be done, the world is just like, so what is happening in the Olympics? We need our own people in those spaces to shine and bring back home those medals without shortchanging themselves, without, depriving themselves their rights to be in the world out there. So it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility, and I can't say I'm the first one. It's been done before. It's just that we need to remain and be relevant at all times. We need to be there at all times so that people get the grip of what the constitution of this country is all about. From every field that is there to be, from science to literature to sports to visual art itself to mainstream media. We are there. We are all over. Therefore, we need that recognition in the most respected manner as much as possible.
Now, a large portion of obviously the Somnyama Ngomnyama series is, in essence, self-portraiture, right? And we'll get into the many dimensions and representations of that shortly. But I want to touch also on the fact that the other large segment of your work has been capturing subject, through your photographic lens. And I read somewhere that your words were, "This is not art. This is life. Each and every photograph is someone's biography." And break that down for us, unpack that sentiment for us a little bit more.
Yeah, what I meant is that for each and every individual that I photographed before, they have their own stories to tell. They just need to be given a chance to tell those stories and to shine without faith, without fear. That's what I meant. I could take a photo of each individual, but that person has own story. They come from somewhere. They are raised differently. They socialize differently. And also, they need to be heard, with all due respect. That's what I meant. To say, if I have photographed 100 people, it means that we have 100 stories. It means that those stories could become books, and those books could be used for education. That's what I meant. To say, it's not just photographs. It's not just people, but then it's human beings with feelings. It's human beings who are capable of loving and also who deserve to be loved in many other ways. So that's what I meant to say. It's not just people, but then look at it as people's books or people's stories that are published somewhere in order for many other individuals to know that it's possible and also it's okay.
Absolutely. And I guess at an elementary level of being human, from my perspective also, it's the recognition that exactly in that word, it is the recognition of being, the recognition of a whole community of people who are by and large unseen. And we see the conversations even on the continent right now, the move and the push towards bringing people back into the darkness, pushing people away from society, the othering. And for me, I look at it as it is the recognizing of just the being and the allowing of the being to just be.
Yes, I mean, recognizing people as citizens of their own countries, recognizing people as capable human beings who are contributors to different communities in our society, and recognizing people for being taxpayers, and also for teaching others, values that cannot be taught by those ones who think that they are holier than others. So, but most of all, to recognize people as as people are born by parents with vills, therefore it means that the parents and those who guide them, who are guidance of those human beings, play their own role to protect and ensure that those that they love, they get, the respect that they need, Because when we come from somewhere, we're born by mothers and fathers, and we are raised by respectful human beings. Therefore, I think that it started home, and home is beyond just the space where we're born, but homes become the space where we feel loved and protected. Therefore, it's from those homes that the heads of those homes teach to those ones who are projecting hate in every form, to say that this is my child, this is my sister, this is my brother, this is my beloved, and therefore treat them this way. But then it means that if the home is a harsher space we want to be at, it means that we are fed by those internal systems, and it needs not to be like that.
Yeah, it is the voice of Sir Zanele Muholi, who is a visual activist, a photographer by training and experience, and of course one of the most celebrated South African creatives, not just domestically but internationally as well. On a side note, and yes, I'm coming to the book now. On the side note, I think it was last year sometime when you were unveiling some of your work at a hotel here in Johannesburg. And in that conversation, you made a sort of an observation in passing that the room chuckled at the fact that oftentimes you are quite self-aware and quite self-conscious when just being photographed in the essence of you just being you. And yet you've dedicated your life asking other people to let those veils and those guards down to be captured through your lens. And it spoke to when the camera is turned on the photographer without the mask, sometimes it's an interesting exchange.
Yeah, no, for some photographers, they say, I don't like to be in front of the camera. I prefer to be behind the scenes or to be the one who's capturing the photos.
Yeah.
So I just challenge myself to be in front of the camera and allow myself to be seen without any preservatives, So it's raw self-portrait presented to the world, and also inviting other photographers to take on the challenge and to say, let us be seen, because it's not too often that everyone likes to be as raw as how one projects themselves in this project,
Yeah.
So for Nyama, it's me who's in front. And I know how uneasy sometimes it becomes for one to be just themselves. So it's me presenting myself into the world. Maybe others won't understand, but it's a way in which I want to keep the memory of myself and also to share the experience of being in different spaces, moving, and also being profiled differently. But to say, regardless of what one is going through, we need to relearn to love ourselves. And in as much as we expect the next person to love us, but to say who we are, what's going on,
Yeah.
Why do we need to be here? Why do we need to record these personal experiences, for the next generation to get a grip of those who were behind or those who were at the back of those cameras? Just that memory before it gets lost or it gets distorted by those who won't understand what's going on.
Absolutely. And it talks to the conversation that we often have on the show around archiving our collective histories, particularly as Black Africans. No matter how painful and wounded and scarred it is, it's very important for us to have that first-hand account of ourselves in these moments. So, Somnyama Ngonyama, Hail the Dark Lioness, Volume 2 is out, and as you've just said, this is where you explore and expand upon your own personalities, and you say even you expanded upon new personas and poetic interpretations of personhood. What does that mean?
It's beyond the lightness of what self-portraiture is, and also to say you bear raw and without fade. Because sometimes we think that what makes sense is adorned or is fixed in a way that meets the standards of other people's beauty. But then in this instance, it's saying what's beautiful is what you see yourself. Maybe other people will just get a slice of you differently because we are taught differently what beautiful is. But to say, let's start with ourselves before we expect our world to define or redefine or emphasize what we see beyond our own mirrors, our own reflections. That's what I meant, yeah.
Lovely stuff. Well, listen, Muholi, congratulations on the latest volume. I'm sure a lot of appreciators of your work and those who are now curious of the voice that you have out there in the creative spaces are going to go out and get themselves copies. And of course, you can log on to Muholi's social media platforms and get all the relevant links for where those can be ordered from. Somnyama Ngonyama, hail the Dark Lioness Volume 2. It's a wonderful coffee table book, and it's ready to add to your collection. It's always a pleasure. I always appreciate you making the time from your busy schedule. We don't take it for granted. That was Zanele Muholi, who is a visual activist. It's just gone 10 to 2 o'clock. It's time now for us to get into Kids Corner.
Friends, and welcome to Nali Bali. Have you ever seen a porcupine? Porcupines are large rodents with coats of sharp spine or quills that protect them against predation. Their fur ranges in color from brownish, yellow, black, and spot white highlights in their quills. While porcupines spend most of their time on the ground, they are good climbers and regularly climb trees in search of food and occasionally even build nests in trees. They are also good swimmers. Porcupines eat a wide range of plant material. Their diet changes seasonally. Porcupines are herbivores with varying vegetation diet that changes with the season and location. During the summer, they eat twigs, bugs, leaves, roots, tubers, grass, berries, fruit, inner bark, and other vegetation. Let's listen to today's story called Why Porcupines Search for Food at Night, written by Pumeza Ngobezana. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and dance! A long time ago, all the animals lived together in harmony, regardless of kind or size. It was a safe place to live because none of the animals ate meat. They all lived off wild plants and water. Every morning, a group of animals would set off to look for food while the rest stayed behind to look after the baby animals. In the evening, there would be a feast, accompanied by cheerful singing and dancing. It was a perfect world. But there was one thing that bothered the animals. The porcupines were gradually starting to change.
We'll collect our own food and eat alone.
The porcupines said. They all started having porcupines-only parties, and the other animals said,
You shouldn't isolate yourself. It's best to stay part of the group.
Back off!
Ow, your claws are hurting me.
I don't actually care.
Ow, you're
Get away!
hurting me.
But this made the porcupines angry and they started attacking other animals with their sharp quills. Several animals asked the porcupines to stop their intimidating behavior. But in the end, everyone decided it was best to keep away from them. Lion said,
It's not worth it getting hurt while trying to help.
One day, Wise Tortoise, whom all the animals respected her because of her special powers, said,
Listen here, everyone. I think we should have an animal imbizo.
Wise Tortoise was older than most of the animals, and she saw visions of the future. This was a very special gift indeed. All the animals gathered around Wise Tortoise to hear what the future held for them. All the animals, except the porcupines, of course. Nobody even bothered to invite them. Porcupines had become so arrogant that now they had an exclusive patch of land that they called Porcupine World.
No other animal is allowed in Porcupine World.
They declared. At the imbizo, Wise Tortoise looked very serious as she said,
I see a sickness that will result in famine and death in the approaching winter months. It will attack mostly the elderly and the sick. But we can prevent this by collecting lots of food and water and staying indoors until the sickness passes.
There was a feeling of gloom amongst the animals. Wise Tortoise's predictions were never wrong. Soon the animals started preparing. One group collected food, another group collected water, a third group dug holes to store the food and keep it fresh. All the animals worked hard to prepare, except the porcupines. They carried on with their daily lives. When they saw the other animals working hard, they laughed and said,
Oh, why are they working so hard? It's really silly to work so hard for no reason.
Gradually, the season changed. The air became cooler and the sun weaker. One day, Wise Tortoise said,
Animals, it is time. Time to stay indoors as the sickness is now among us.
The animals wanted to be safe, so they stayed in hollows, burrows, dens, and caves. They were now officially in lockdown. However, in Porcupine World, everyone continued to move around as usual.
Why are all the animals staying indoors?
The porcupines asked each other as they took their offspring to play outside and went on to search for food. Soon the porcupines caught the sickness. They infected each other and gradually started to die, leaving their families and young ones behind.
It's the creators punishing us for being so mean to the other animals.
Some of the porcupines said,
If only we had remained together with them.
Cried others.
We would have known about the sickness. We too could have stayed indoors and been safe.
But the porcupines were too proud to seek help. Eventually, the porcupines found a cave to live in.
Okay, I think only a few of us should collect food and water each day. And when we return, we should drop off the food and then isolate from the rest for the few days. In that way, we won't affect each other,
said one of the porcupines. Everyone agreed, and gradually, the porcupines stopped becoming ill and dying. In time, life steadily went back to normal for all the other animals. Hope replaced gloom. But after the tragedy, the porcupines were too ashamed to see other animals. They decided that instead of getting food during the day, like the other animals did, they would wait for everyone to fall asleep and only go out at night. They also decided to try to be more kind. And so to this day, Porcupines search for food at night, and they only use their quills to attack when they are in danger. And so we come to the end of another Nali Bali story time. Today's story was called Why Porcupines Search for Food at Night, written by Pumeza Ngobezana. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit Nali Bali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You will find stories in 11 South African languages, as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nali Bali Reading for Enjoyment supplements with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nali Bali, it starts with a story.
The top stories this hour: Shivambu now, the MK party organizer, and the Presidential Health Compact signed in Pretoria. A very good afternoon. Floyd Shivambu is now the national organizer of the MK party. The former EFF deputy president announced last week that he would be joining the MK. MK party SG Sfiso Maseko made the announcement at a media briefing in Sandhurst in northern Joburg. He announced the formation of the National High Command, which will be the party's highest decision-making body. Maseko says the party's president is Jacob Zuma and John Hlophe is the deputy president.
The Umkhonto Wesizwe Party will be led by the National High Command, which will be comprised of commanders of different skill sets and experiences. The High Command of the MKP will be the highest decision-making body, comprised of 8 officials and additional members not exceeding 45. The 8 officials will be the President, the Deputy President, the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, Treasurer General, National Chairperson, Deputy National Chairperson, and the National Organizer.
Maseko says that a process is underway to establish structures across the country to enable the party to contest the 2026 local elections.
The MKP will choose and deploy the best of the best into Parliament, legislatures and councils, and in exceptional few cases, those deployed in Parliament will not be leaders of the MK party. We are separating functions of those who lead the party and those who go to Parliament and legislatures. The MKP will provide political and ideological direction to those who are deployed to Parliament and government, and not the other way round, where those deployed in government give direction to the party.
Acting President Paul Mashatile has signed the second Presidential Health Compact at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. The Health Compact, which was established in 2019, is a framework between critical sectors that include government, business, academia, and civil society. It has a monitoring and evaluation component where roles and responsibilities are assigned to a range of stakeholders to support health systems in preparation of the National Health Insurance. Cabinet has welcomed the arrest of the suspected leader behind a kidnapping syndicate targeting business people for ransom in the country. This was announced by Minister in the Presidency Kumbutso Nzaveni at a GCIS briefing in Pretoria, which provided an update on the cabinet meeting held yesterday. Police arrested the 40-year-old suspect at OR Tambo Airport on Sunday morning, shortly after his arrival in the country. Nzaveni praised this development in the ongoing efforts by the government to tackle crime.
He's also suspected to be a key figure in the 300 million rands crystal meth drug seized recently at the Johannesburg suburbs of Fourways and Bruma. The arrest underscores government's commitment to decisively deal with organized crime. Cabinet supports the deployment of the multidisciplinary law enforcement teams to deal with the high crime rate situation that is prevailing in the Eastern Cape. The multidisciplinary teams include anti-organized crime, specialized operations and intelligence operatives. Cabinet reiterated to law enforcement that communities cannot be held ransom by criminals.
And South African households are struggling to see the benefits of the declining food prices because their utility tariffs have increased drastically. This is according to the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group, which monitors the cost of the basic food basket. Yesterday, Stats SA reported that the consumer price inflation has slowed down for the first time in 3 years to 4.6% in July. The group's Mervyn Abraham says the affordability of food is an issue.
Municipalities have to undertake studies around the levels of poverty, levels of income, and affordability within their municipalities. And that is critical in order for these municipalities to assess what is actually affordable in terms of tariff increases. At what point does a tariff increase mean that a household has to disconnect themselves from the electricity grid because they can no longer pay for that electricity?
The top story at 2 o'clock, Floyd Shivambu is now the national organizer of the MK Party. The Full Circle continues. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
Every day our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Audison. Is big food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org on Thursday, 15th August at 3 p.m.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, noma uphumapi, and no matter your favorite dish. See if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Ndibonile, ndimfumene, ndiyamthanda, barelo ndithetha ngaye, anguwe sithandwa sami.
It is Malaika coming through with Nguwe. That is how we enter the second hour of the show today. Just a little bit of a musical break that we take on the show at the top of the hour to cleanse the palate a little bit. It's needed, particularly at this time of the day. By the way, my apologies. By the way, remember that, the question right now is, as an employee, are you able to challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue? And we have an expert, a senior associate at the dispute resolution practice, who's going to be joining our conversation today. So if you have any questions or point of clarity that you require around this, now is the time for you to send through your questions on 061 410 4107. That is our WhatsApp line. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 061 410 4107 or 086 000 2032. We don't want you to wait until the very last moment to ask what you are dying to ask. A lot of people finding themselves in a situation right now where perhaps they are facing unemployment. You've been issued all kinds of letters to discontinue employment, whether your company is insolvent or going under business rescue, shutting down, and perhaps you're just wondering if you have any legitimate recourse or anything that you can do, or any avenues that you can explore in as far as that is concerned. And that is the topic of our conversation is, as an employee, can you challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue? Also happening this hour, we're giving you an opportunity to win your share of our birthday pot. 8,800 Rand is what we have in our kitty today. So, it's very simple. The mechanic of this doesn't require too much heavy lifting. All you have to do is SMS us on 41391 and use the hashtag SAFM88 and use that hashtag, and then of course your name on SMS, strictly on SMS. 41391 is our SMS line. And then stand by your phone. Take your phone everywhere you go. And who knows, we could be calling you back and making you 8,800 Rand richer, all in celebration of our 88th birthday. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come back and get into our conversation.
Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
One has to ask the question, what is the story? What is the city of Johannesburg story? 8 mayors in the last 7-8 years.
The story is a story of a city in crisis that has a multiple level of crisis in terms of a range of service delivery issues. Probably the top of those is a water and electricity crisis that keeps deepening. There's definitely a financial management crisis in the city, somewhere between the city saying it doesn't have enough money and National Treasury saying that it's not spending enough money. There's clearly a financial management issue that the city is facing. But then there's also just looking at the different entities in the city of Joburg that are underperforming. City Power, Joburg Water, the Joburg Property Agency, and other entities that are simply not delivering on mandate, are riddled with scandals of corruption.
Tessa Dooms.
Night Talk, Monday to Thursdays, 10 to midnight. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
All right, as we get into the conversation now. So when a company enters business rescue, it often means significant upheavals, not only for the business, but also for its employees. And a key question here is, can you challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue? And we thought we'd catch up with the senior associate at the dispute resolution practice, Muwanwa Ramanyime. How are you doing this afternoon? You good? Muwanwa?
Thank you.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Thank you for taking the time to be in conversation with us. Maybe let's start off by understanding, just the nuance in definition of what is business rescue for a company versus, for instance, foreclosure versus a company that is closing down? And is there a difference?
There is certainly a difference, Zanele.
It's
so
Bridget.
Sorry, I thought it,
no, it's okay.
Hi, Bridget. So the starting point in answering that question is to state what business rescue entails. Business rescue is aimed at facilitating the rehabilitation of a financially distressed company. The definition of financially distressed becomes very important in this in the process of business rescue. So it means that financially distressed means that a company is reasonably unlikely to pay all of its debts as they become due and payable within 6 months, or is reasonably likely to become insolvent within the next 6 months. So business rescue, as I said, is aimed at facilitating the rehabilitation of the company, whereas the other examples that you put through, like closing down the company, that would be winding up proceedings, which or the registration of the company, which leads to the company not being in operation at all, whereas business rescue tries to keep the doors open in layman's terms.
Got you. And in that trying to keep the doors open, is it then a feasible, a feasible scenario that there could be potential for employees to be let go as part of, I guess, trimming the fat, so to speak?
Unfortunately, because, when a company is financially distressed, it can't pay its debts, and some of those debts might be employee salaries. And in that instance, retrenchments or dismissals might become an eventuality of that, of that company. So that is a big possibility when company is in business rescue. But in that instance, the company still would have to comply with all labor laws and all relevant legislations when it's embarking on those retrenchments or dismissals of such employees.
Okay. I presume it's a fine line to walk for any business, right? If on the one part you are trying to rehabilitate a company and keep the doors open, and on the other part there's the potential that it could affect your employees, then it probably presents a very fine legal line that businesses have to straddle in as far as the process of what happens.
Definitely, because, for most companies, employees are the backbone of the company. They have the know-how. They provide certain services to the company. So, for the company to continue in existence, one would think they need, to have the employees. So it's a quite delicate balancing exercise in terms of, so that's when the planning, and this is where the business rescue practitioner that's appointed becomes very crucial, because they have to then embark on that balancing exercise of essentially who to let go and who to keep in the company, to ensure that the company actually does, come out of these financially distressed circumstances. So it's a lot of strategy and a lot of balancing exercises to go into it. And as I said earlier on, the company is so. Even though there are certain things that are suspended, such as, certain claims against the company are suspended, but the company is still not absolved from complying with the law. So even in that instance, whatever consultations, whatever notices, whatever payments that have to be made to employees when you're retrenching them, those are still applicable. So, there has to be a lot of strategy that goes into it in terms of, dismissing employees if it comes to that.
Okay. Muwanwa, walk us through the procedures of business rescue. What do those speak to in SA?
So business rescue can be entered into in two ways. So that would be in a voluntary way. That is by a resolution entered into by the directors of the company. or involuntarily, which is in other words compulsory business rescue. This application can be brought by any affected person. Even an employee can bring such an application, but other affected persons include creditors, shareholders, and so on. So those are the two ways that business rescue can be entered into. And once the business rescue is entered into, immediately a business rescue practitioner needs to be appointed. The business rescue practitioner basically steps into the shoes of the directors of the company, and they have to develop what is called a business rescue plan, which is essentially the blueprint to, how do we rehabilitate this company. So that's, just to summarize, high-level process of how business rescue is entered into.
Okay. And then do both these voluntary and involuntary, do they then, once they get entered into them, do they then sort of dictate, and I know you said that the business rescue practitioner, it will be to their discretion, but do they then dictate what kind of mapping out is used to get the company's affairs in order, especially if the objective is to not see the company go into liquidation? Are they different then processes that then happen depending on which way you got into business rescue?
The only difference is just how you get into business rescue, but all the rules and regulations that pertain to the process are still the same for both processes. So the business rescue plan must be done in both instances. The rights and obligations of all stakeholders are still the same in both instances. One could say maybe, the voluntary way of going into business rescue is probably quicker, just because there's a lot of buy-in from the company. Because if you're doing it in a involuntary way, because you have to bring an application to court to get that order, then the company might oppose that application, and that might protract the processes, and until an order is actually given, the company is actually not in business rescue. So the only difference is in the beginning, how you enter into it. But once you're in it, the process, the rights and obligations of all parties are the same.
Yeah. And when we speak of rights and obligations, this also speaks to the labor laws that are sort of enacted.
Basically, yes. So as I said earlier on, the labor laws are not suspended. The employee's contract is not suspended. So maybe just to say, entering into business rescue does not automatically terminate the employment contract. So that employment contract continues on the same terms and conditions, unless those terms and conditions are varied in the ordinary course of business or by agreement between the employee and the employer. So all the legislations in that regard will still be applicable unless the employer and employee decide, agree otherwise or agree to certain terms.
Okay. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you have a point of clarity that perhaps Muwanwa can help you with as an employee, and we were trying to get an understanding around the question of whether or not you can challenge a dismissal when the company is in business rescue. Let's go to WhatsApp.
Good afternoon, Bridget. Bridget, quickly. What action can be taken against the BRP who is not in a company to rescue the company but just to enrich himself? There are companies in the Road Passenger Bargaining Council who are under, or which are under the BRP, and there's one of them that is suffering. For the past 8 months, employees did not receive their salaries, but he is getting paid on monthly basis. Please provide an advice to those vulnerable employees. Thank you.
All right. I don't know if you have some advice that perhaps you can give, or maybe just, a sense of direction around this.
Thanks for the question. So a business rescue practitioner has to comply with the law. There are certain prescripts in the Companies Act of what kind of person can be appointed to be a business rescue practitioner. And one of those prescripts is that that person must be a member in good legal, accounting or business management profession. So if you look at legal profession, accounting and the like, those professionals are governed by certain professional bodies. So if you're of the view that the business rescue practitioner is not performing in terms of the standards that they need to perform, you can definitely lodge a complaint, to one of the professional bodies that they might belong to. And also you are allowed to bring an application to court for their removal as well. Obviously, that is just a high level. The fact of the case will dictate whether the business rescue practitioner is actually not performing, because, rescuing a company is a daunting task. So there might be challenges within the company that they're facing, and it's just taking longer, or it's just being more difficult to rescue the company. But you do have remedies in terms of the Companies Act here.
Okay. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on if you have a point that you need clarification on. Perhaps you need, a sense of direction from my guest today. She's a senior associate at the Dispute Resolution Practice, Mwamwa Ramanyemi. So she's here with us for the next couple of moments. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line if you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note. Let's see. Let's sneak in a voice note. Let's do it after the break. Let's go into the headline news, and then we'll come back and we'll go to our WhatsApp, and then we'll come back to our callers as well.
Very good afternoon. With the news headlines, more than 10,000 City of Joburg employees affiliated with SAMU have blocked off the M1 and M2 highways in Braamfontein and the Joburg CBD. Acting President Paul Mashatile has described the Health Compact as a commitment to achieve universal health coverage and access to affordable medicines for all. And former EFF Deputy President Floyd Chivambu is now the national organizer of the MK Party. Details of these and other stories coming up at 3.
Tweet at SAFM Radio and at Bridget Masinga.
By the way, don't forget that we're giving you an opportunity to walk away with 8,800 Rand. We're celebrating our 88th birthday. All you have to do is SMS us on 41391 and SMS SAFM 88 followed by your name to 41391. SMSs are charged at the standard SMS rates and no free SMSs apply. And who knows, you could be walking away with 8,800 Rand. We gave away 8,800, was it last week, to one of our listeners. So stand by your phone, take your phone with you. There's no jumping through hoops for this one. We've made it very simple for you, but you have to send it through our SMS line on 41391. Our WhatsApp line, however, is open on 061 410 4107 for our conversation right now. As an employee, can you challenge dismissal if your company is under business rescue? And we're covering this conversation with my guest today, who's an senior associate at the Dispute Resolution Practice. And of course, if you've got questions around liquidation as well, she's probably well suited to give you some sense of direction there. Let's go to WhatsApp quickly.
Good afternoon, Sister Bridget. It's for the tracker here in Western Cape. Sister Bridget, there are companies, especially here in the transport sector. You remember that bus company with a dog name? It went under that business rescue, and then all of a sudden, we saw the bus company is now operating. They come back in a different form, but still the buses are operating. What happened to the workers? In the trucking industry, they go under business rescue. Then the next thing, they come with a different name. You will see the same trucks, but color the trucks with different colors. Then they come back. These people, they're just dodging the taxmen and dodging the workers. in a different way.
An interesting observation. Then we'll double back to that. But first, let's go to Harris Smith. Tukulu, how are you doing?
I'm good, and how are you, Sis Bridget?
I'm great, thank you. Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, no, I just want to, maybe I will be out or not, because I just want to ask, on the liquidation company, I still have a right to challenge the company about it, because I've been one of the victim. Then I had to CCMA and I won the reward. All of a sudden the company has been on liquidation. Then that's my reward. I never get it. So
Okay.
I just want to know on that.
So you never got what, your payout?
Yeah, that reward I got it from CCMA because I won the case. Then I got the reward. Then the company came on liquidation.
And then you never got your payout from your
I never
judgment.
got yes,
Also,
I never got
you want to know what's next? What can you do next?
what to do, because they say if the company is on liquidation, so there is a right.
Okay.
They have a right not to pay me, because the only person that they must pay is the bank and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Me,
We get you. We get you. Tukulu, listen for us on the radio, yeah? Muwanwa?
Yes, Bridget. Maybe just to start with the first question regarding the companies coming back in different names.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a distinction between a company going through business rescue and liquidation. I think we highlighted it in the beginning. With business rescue, the aim of it is for the same company to continue in existence. But there's a restructuring type of process that is taking place within that company, but the same company remains in operation. Whereas with liquidation, that company is actually dismantled, and when the liquidation is completed, that company is no longer in existence. I'm not sure about the instance that our listener was talking about, but maybe that company had been liquidated, and then maybe that's why the company now they sold the assets of the company, and then that's what they're saying. But without the actual facts, one cannot really say what actually happened in that instance, because in business rescue, the same company, if the rescue is successful, the same company remains in existence.
Got you. And in the case of our caller, Tukulu, out in Harrismith, does he have any recourse in terms of just getting what I think is his payout? He says that his rewards, his payout post that CCMA judgment, and it seems like the company has shut down since then.
In liquidation proceedings, there's a ranking of creditors. That's how creditors get paid, based on their ranking. The ranking is secured creditor, the SARS, and unsecured or concurrent creditors. So what could have happened, again, this is not legal advice and I do not have all the facts, that he could have been a concurrent creditor of that company. And as I said, the ranking is the secured creditor will get paid first from the assets that they secured if it's being sold, and then SARS is next in line as a preferred creditor, and then other concurrent creditors. So you would have to look at the liquidation and distribution account of that company to see what the debts of the company were, what the payments were to who and why, and then he can take it from there to see if he has any recourse.
I see. Okay. I mean, I've never understood the language around it, but I've just always gathered that the pie goes in accordance to who was owed the most. And then it just trickles down sort of that way. Then the next person, by the time it gets to me, Bridget, there might not be anything left.
It's not essentially who's owed the most. It's, who is secured. So an example, maybe a bank, they secured the house or a property that the particular company owns, and then this company is going through liquidation, and that house gets sold. the bank would have to get paid first based on their security. So it might look as if the one who's owed the most gets paid first, because usually the bank might be the one who's owed the most because they had secured a big property or equipment for the business. So it works on rankings, not on amounts that are owed. So even if it's 5,000 rand that's owed, the secured creditor would have to be paid first, and then it will trickle down based on the hierarchy that I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I think you've given us so much clarity on this. And for anyone who was listening and maybe had something to ask, they probably got more than one of their questions answered already. We appreciate the time with you this afternoon, and we thank you so much for it. That was, of course, Muwanwa Ramanyemi, who is a senior associate at the Dispute Resolution Practice. Hope you got some clarity and some answers in as far as that conversation is concerned. Let's take a quick pause, and then we'll come back on the other side, and hopefully we get to give away 8,800 rands. I hope you are standing near your phone. If you did enter our competition on 41391, that's our SMS line. Only SMS entries are considered for this, and really it's very simple. You just SMS us SAFM 88 followed by your name to 41391, remembering that no free SMSs apply. The standard SMS rates do apply for this, and stand by your phone. There's no trick questions, there's no catchphrase, there's nothing of the sort. We've made it so simple. We are basically celebrating our birthday and hoping to add a little bit of good cheer your way as well. 8,800 rand is up for grabs.
Feel Good Fridays just got even better with a brand new Espresso newsletter, the Feel Good Fix. Delivered to your inbox every Friday, it is your weekly dose of joy, entertainment, and local flair. Subscribe now at expressoshow.com and never miss a moment.
From heartwarming stories to tasty recipes, it's all there waiting for you. And remember to tune in to the Espresso Morning Show weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on S3, and let's start your day right and channel your inner feel good.
We can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
Reigning champions of the citizens fully get it that early wins in the league serves you right when pressure kicks in.
On it goes to Foden, 2-0! The master marksman, Phil Foden, you absolute music!
However, the Tractor Boys believe they have what it takes to prevail in the Big Boys League.
Burns again, another opportunity, it
This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting battle between Manchester City FC and Ipswich Town FC on Saturday 24 August at 3 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
It is, we are live and doing multiple things. We're doing multiple things in the studio right now as we try and get all our relevant feeds coming through on our television. We got our eyes, one eye is on the radio, one eye is on the television to just keep abreast with everything that's going on this afternoon. There's so many moving parts politically in the country this afternoon. Anyway, we are hoping to make you 8,800 Rand richer today by simply SMSing SAFM 88 to 41391, followed by your name, and stand by your phone if you entered the competition, because we could be calling you in any literally in the next couple of seconds now. I hope you've got your phone near you. We're celebrating our 88th birthday. Let's try and see if we can't find anybody to give away 8,800 Rand to. We're going to try and dial into somebody.
SAFM 88.
You know, and we decided this year that we're not even going to make it difficult for you. Like, because we're like, we don't want you to be in the middle of a board meeting and then you answer SAFM 88 while they're asking you about projections. But thank you for playing along. Congratulations to you, sir. Who am I talking to? Bukosi, congratulations to you. You have won 8,800 runs on us for our birthday. Should I be asking you what you're going to do with the money? Because you didn't. It's only a pleasure. You didn't even waste time. Because kaloku funeka uyibhubhudle kodwa uyabona ubuyicabanga ukuthi December is around the corner.
Yeah, you're right.
Fabulous. I'm not going to ask you Uguti Ugupi because there's always that friend that's listening to the radio and then they're going to be like, Ngizwile but we appreciate you for listening to this station and we're so glad to make your day. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
It's only a pleasure. I'm going to hand you over to my presenters to get all of your details. That was this afternoon's winner, Bukosi, walking away with 8,800 Rand. There's still some time for you to, someone just asked me if there's still time for them to enter the competition. Yeah, there's still time for you to enter the competition. We're giving away money until the end of the month. I'm just not too sure, Uguti, on which show the next giveaway is going to pop up on, so you have to listen to the station 24/7. I mean, we gave away money last week, we're giving away money today, of course. We just gave away money to Bukosi, and so I don't know, Ashraf could have money today. You just have to listen to the station and then you'll hear the respective presenter then cue you to enter the competition, and it's very, very simple. You just enter it via our WhatsApp line. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
It is as we get into the last element of the show today, we've got Prof. Widad joining us now, and we're talking around the outcomes of the South African Child, is it the South African Child Gauge 2024, the Children's Institute at the University of Cape Town. I think I could be off there with my titling. How are you doing, Prof? Please feel free to correct me.
Hi, Bridget. Thanks very much for having me. No, you put it spot on. It's South African Child Gauge 2024, Enhancing Early Childhood Development.
Enhancing Early Childhood Development. What is the South African Child Gauge 2024? Give us some context as to what this speaks to.
Yeah, so the Child Gauge is a publication that the Children's Institute at UCT produces on a almost biannual basis, and it really takes a thematic focus. So this time it's on early childhood development, and it's at a critical time in our country where we know we recently had a leadership function shift from the Department of Social Development to Department of Basic Education. Our children are facing numerous crises, I think. We can talk a little bit more about about that. But it's really come at quite an opportune time for us to really put the spotlight on early childhood development. And maybe just to say, there's a few things that we want to highlight in this stage. First of all is, what is it when we talk about early childhood development? What do we mean? Often when we talk about early childhood development, or as people call it ECD in South Africa, very commonly, it's referred to as a place, or center, or an early learning program. And we really want to put that terminology aside, because it seems to have done our children quite a huge disservice, because it narrowly focuses us on just educational opportunities for children. We should be thinking about early childhood development as an outcome. So really it's about, how can we ensure that children grow, develop and thrive in all aspects, whether it be physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, etc. And the recognition that it happens from the point of conception to when they enter formal schooling. So I think that's quite important, because it's the way we think about early childhood development that almost defines how we provide our services and our planning for programs, etc. So that's really the first thing that we've tried to do with this gauge.
And Prof. Widad, this is now, from what I understand, the seventh issue of if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, the 17th issue of the child gauge. Let's visit some of perhaps the recurring or persistent themes that have come up in previous years and previous reports, those persistent themes and challenges, and what that sort of speaks to as well around maybe the understanding of ECD, the deliverables and the shortcomings, and the things that we need to focus on.
Yeah, so like I said, each issue has a different theme. We interestingly had an issue on early child development about 10 years ago. So just before our policy in 2015 was adopted. And so it was a good time for us to also revisit and see what has happened over the last 10 years. And obviously we've had other issues in between. So we've had issues on nutrition, on mental health, families, violence, etc. And it's useful to actually revisit, because what's come out this time is, and you would have seen in our press statement, that some of the statistics are quite sobering, that we're starting to see that there's increasing poverty amongst our youngest children, that we've got this dual burden of malnutrition, where it means that children are both experiencing underweight and stunting, which is a form of chronic malnutrition, as well as overweight and obesity. And so it means that you're not just dealing with the underfeeding, or the undernutrition of children. You're also dealing with the overfeeding or the overnutrition of children, which has also got long-term health implications. We're seeing that perhaps a decade's worth of progress in child mortality may have been reversed. That our latest estimates are showing us that there might be an increase in our mortality rates as well. So there's a lot of markers, that are coming through that's showing us that we maybe not doing as well as we thought. And now is the time that we really should be revisiting some of these things, these issues, and looking at how we can improve circumstances for children.
Now, the report also called for increased support for families and caregivers. Let's unpack some of those specific interventions and perhaps recommendations that you highlighted within the report.
Yeah, and so, so one of the country's main poverty alleviation mechanisms for children is a child support grant. And what we found is that the gap between the child support grant and the food poverty line is increasing. So, one of the calls is that we should be restoring the child support grant at least back to the food poverty line. You'd have seen that 71% of our children are living below the upper bound poverty line, meaning they're not meeting their basic nutritional requirements or basic needs such as clothing and shelter. So that's also a form of family support. Other forms of family support we're asking for is the fact that, we need to be getting more pregnant women accessing early antenatal care, because that sets them off on a cascade of, access to other services and supports that are available to both them, but also when the baby's born. And that we should be looking for other opportunities to support pregnant women, such as perhaps providing some form of income support to pregnant women as well. And then obviously when the baby's born, all mothers, all families need support. And so we've got community health worker programs available, for families who need extra care and support. And so we need to be thinking, how can we strengthen that level of support at the household level? What else can we be doing that doesn't that goes beyond just looking at survival issues, like making sure that children aren't getting, dying of infections. Which is what we've been oriented to for the last 30 odd years. We need to be thinking a bit more about what else can we do to make sure that that child remains healthy, that they're fed properly, that they're growing up in secure environments, that the caregivers know how to respond to their needs appropriately, and that they get learning opportunities from birth within the home. That we don't wait until the children enter preschools and, start formal schooling before we think they're able to learn.
Let's also maybe understand if COVID also in some ways exacerbated the crises in early childhood development and of course the long-term effects of that perhaps that you foresaw within the data.
Yeah, so COVID absolutely had an effect on access to services. It obviously derailed the provision of services, but also, access. And what we've seen is that over time, post-COVID, there has been some recovery. So, for instance, we're seeing recovery in immunization rates. So we're seeing recovery in access to other essential services. But what's worrying is that when you look at it at an aggregate level, on average for the whole country, it actually looks better than when you start picking, and looking at the provincial or district level. And so we're finding that in some areas, that recovery hasn't been as good as we thought. So we're not seeing pre-COVID levels returning. We're still lagging even, behind in that. So COVID definitely has had an impact, and we're showing recovery, but not to the levels that we had pre-COVID in many areas. Another area is around access to early learning programs. So we've got almost 1 in 3 of our 3 to 5 year olds who are not accessing these early learning programs that prepare them for schooling. And pre-COVID, the levels were higher. And so we're seeing, although it's picking up, it's not really recovered to what it was before COVID.
Prof, by way of sort of collaboration, right? Collaboration between the various sectors and stakeholders. How important is that, or how do you envision that in making a difference and advancing maybe even some of the goals that have been outlined in the child gauge? And we can even talk to, what some of those goals are, in fact.
Yeah, and so you'd have seen that in the book and in the press statements and so on, we're asking for a call to action. We say this is an opportunity. We've got this new government of national unity. We've got this functionship and leadership for early childhood development. We've got an interministerial committee that has met with, presidential leadership for children. And I think these are all important things. These are opportunities. But government can't do it alone. And so you'll see that we ask for a whole of society approach, that everybody must find themselves in this space about how can I contribute to this. We talk about it takes a village to raise a child. We talk about Ubuntu in South Africa, but we really need to make sure that we action that. It's not enough for government because there's a role for civil society, for parents, for the private sector, for everyone. And it's absolutely, we have to expect that government provides leadership, but everybody's got a role to play. And so what the gauge has done is try to bring people from all these different sectors together in a collaborative process where we start putting our heads together and think through what do we actually need to do to shift things for children. How do we create a situation where we say enough is enough, this is not good enough, what do we need to do more of, or where are the gaps, and what else can we do to change things for children? And I think that's really important. The goals you can see are some are programmatic goals and some of them are system level goals. So we know that, there may be policy gaps, for instance. We're asking for us to look for children in every policy that's available there, to make sure that, we're also including children in budgeting processes, for instance, those sorts of things. Because if we are, conscientizing ourselves to thinking about the most vulnerable in our population, and we're making sure that children are part of that conversation and cared for, it will be better for everyone. That's just the way it works, and principles of universal design, etc. So I think those are the sorts of things that we're asking for. It's a whole society approach. It's got to be an equitable approach. We've got to prioritize the members of our society that we know are struggling the most. These risks I was talking about actually co-occur. They cluster in individuals and households. And so we need to be thinking about how do we respond to that. And that we have early but sustained investment. So it's not enough to invest in school-age children or invest in higher education. You actually have to start early, from conception, building on those investments over time, because that's how you reap the benefits of those later investments.
Prof, we've run out of time, but I think you've given us a great comprehensive understanding as to the contents of the South African Child Gauge 2024 as conducted by the Children's Institute at the University of Cape Town, and of course in collaboration with other stakeholders. That was Prof. Widad wrapping up our final conversation this afternoon on this show, The Full Circle. In just a matter of moments, Ashraf Gada and his team are coming through to take over with the afternoon's conversation between 3 and 6 o'clock. And I'm sure there's lots on the agenda today, given everything that we've been seeing by way of the scheduled press conferences today. Those 10 ex-MKP members of parliament held their press briefing earlier. And of course, then the leadership of the MKP also wrapping up their press briefing a couple of moments ago. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot that you want to unpack on the National Pulse this afternoon, and a lot that you want to interrogate from every angle, including the body language of people and facial expressions. Cameramen were working full on today during that MKP briefing, coming and covering people from every single possible angle. It's always interesting on social media when you watch the discourse and we become experts in everything. I saw somebody the other day they tweeted saying that, they've worked 15 years with the SAPS forensics, studying people's body language, and so they are able to decipher that, A, B, C, D from how the former DP of the EFF was presenting himself and how the president of the EFF was presenting themselves. So it gets a bit amusing on social media when we see all these various theories coming through, but also great for the conversation which is going to carry on with Ashraf Gada on the National Pulse. From myself and my team, we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for choosing to be in conversation with us. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
Thanks, Sister Bridge. The top stories at 3 as SAMU workers take to the streets in Joburg and Shivambu slams betrayal claims. A very good afternoon. More than 10,000 City of Joburg employees affiliated with SAMU have blocked off the M1 and M2 highway